Part 2, Whispers of Rebellion. The Underground Network. Commander Julian Stark stood before the holographic map of the Southern Territories, his fingers tracing the intricate grid of agricultural zones. From the outside, he appeared to be the perfect embodiment of the system's authority: crisp uniform, calculated movements, eyes that seemed to calculate everything. But beneath the surface, a different story was brewing. Elena Voss hunched over a makeshift communication terminal, her fingers dancing across encrypted channels. As the primary communication specialist for the underground resistance, she was the invisible thread connecting isolated pockets of dissent across the territories. A dangerous transmission. Sector 7 is showing signs of instability, Elena murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. A coded message had come through, something about an agricultural worker who had noticed an anomaly. Most would ignore such a transmission, but Elena knew better. Commander Stark leaned closer. "The weak mutation," he said, more a statement than a question. Their eyes met, a moment of understanding that transcended the rigid hierarchies of their world. The price of curiosity. Back in the fields, Nara found herself under increased surveillance. Her brief interaction with Victor had not gone unnoticed. The drone monitoring her sector had logged an irregular conversation, triggering a preliminary investigation protocol. Governor Dreen's assistant reviewed the footage, his fingers sliding across the digital interface. Anomaly detected, the system highlighted, flagging Nara's profile for further scrutiny. Threads of resistance. Victor knew the risks. He had been part of the resistance for years, carefully planting seeds of doubt within the system. The mutated wheat was more than a botanical curiosity, it was a carefully orchestrated signal. In the underground communication network, such signals meant something. A potential recruit. A possible weakness in the system's control. A delicate balance. Commander Stark made a decision that would change everything. Instead of reporting Nara's anomalous behavior, he would observe. Elena prepared a secure communication channel, ready to provide support if needed. "Not everyone who questions is ready to fight," Elena warned. "But everyone who fights starts by questioning." Stark nodded. The resistance had learned patience. They didn't need soldiers, they needed sparks of humanity. The gathering storm. As night fell over the agricultural zones, Nara sat in her living unit, unaware of the complex network now observing her. The mutated wheat sample she had secretly collected burned with potential, a tiny rebellion against a system that sought to control every aspect of existence. Something was coming. A shift was brewing beneath the carefully maintained surface of their controlled world. And Nara Rothwell was about to become its unexpected catalyst. Part 3, Echoes of Resistance. The Hidden Laboratory. Dr. Fiona Reeves worked meticulously, her gloved hands carefully examining the genetic sample Nara had smuggled out of the agricultural zone. The microscope revealed more than just a simple plant mutation, it was a potential key to understanding the system's deepest vulnerabilities. The underground research facility was a marvel of concealed technology. Hidden beneath an abandoned processing center, it represented the Resistance's most guarded secret, a place where science became a weapon of hope. Unraveling the conspiracy. "This is more than we anticipated," Dr. Reeves muttered to herself, transcribing her findings into a heavily encrypted data pad. The wheat sample contained genetic markers that suggested deliberate manipulation, not just agricultural optimization, but a form of population control previously only theorized. General Willem Karsten entered the laboratory, his weathered face a map of years spent fighting a silent war. "What have you discovered?" he asked, his voice low and measured. "The genetic revelation." Dr. Reeves pulled up a holographic projection of the wheat's genetic structure. "The modifications aren't just about crop yield," she explained. "They're designed to suppress certain genetic expressions in humans. Creativity. Independent thinking. Resistance." The implications were staggering. The agricultural system was more than a means of food production, it was a tool of systematic human suppression. Nara's awakening. Meanwhile, in the agricultural zones, Nara found herself increasingly isolated. The system had begun its subtle process of marginalization, reduced work assignments, minimal social interactions, constant surveillance. But isolation had its advantages. Victor had taught her that. Watch. Listen. Learn, he had said. And she was doing exactly that. The resistance moves. General Karsten made a decisive decision. We need to extract Nara, he told Elena Voss. She's become more than just a potential recruit. She's a key. Commander Julian Stark disagreed. Too risky. We move too soon, and we lose everything we've been building. The tension between caution and action had always been the Resistance's greatest challenge. A delicate strategy. Elena began preparing a communication network. Coded messages would be distributed through the agricultural zones, subtle signals that would prepare the ground for what was to come. Dr. Reeves continued her research, each discovery a potential weapon against the system's control. The wheat sample was more than a scientific curiosity, it was proof of systematic oppression. The gathering storm. As night fell over the territories, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Nara sat in her living unit, unaware of the complex plans being made around her. The small genetic sample she had discovered was about to become the spark that could change everything. The resistance was preparing. The system was vulnerable. And somewhere between hope and revolution, a new future was taking shape. Part 4, The Hidden Network. A calculated risk. Marcus Holloway's fingers danced across a complex communication array, weaving through layers of digital encryption that would make the system's best security algorithms look like child's play. As the Resistance's lead communications engineer, he was the invisible architect of their hope. We're ready, he whispered to Sophia Winters, the strategic planner who had been meticulously mapping out their next move. The communication web. Sophia studied the holographic map of the southern territories, each point of light representing a potential contact, a possible ally. The resistance was no longer just a whisper, it was becoming a network, a living, breathing organism of resistance. The wheat mutation, she said, tracing a line across the map, it's more than just a scientific anomaly. It's our message. Nara's transformation. In the agricultural zones, Nara had become something different. The isolation had not broken her, it had refined her. She had learned to move between surveillance drones, to communicate in subtle gestures, to understand the rhythm of the system's control. Victor's teachings echoed in her mind. Every system has a weakness. Every wall has a crack. The infiltration begins. Marcus activated a series of communication protocols. Encrypted messages began to spread through the agricultural zones like invisible threads, connecting isolated workers, planting seeds of doubt, of possibility. A message appeared on Nara's restricted communication device, a seemingly random pattern of agricultural data. But to those who knew, it was a call to action. A dangerous alliance. Commander Julian Stark found himself at a crossroads. His position within the system gave him access to information, but his true allegiance was to something greater. He began to strategically redirect surveillance, create blind spots, provide the resistance with the smallest of advantages. Dr. Fiona Reeves continued her research, each discovery bringing them closer to understanding the true nature of the genetic manipulation. The moment of decision. Sophia Winters prepared the next phase of their plan. We're not just fighting a system, she told Marcus. We're fighting an idea of control. The wheat mutation is our symbol. Our weapon. The resistance had moved beyond simple rebellion. They were becoming a movement. The gathering force. As the sun set over the agricultural territories, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Nara looked out over the fields, no longer seeing rows of controlled wheat, but a landscape of potential. Of hope. The system thought it had created a perfect method of control. But it had made one crucial mistake. It had underestimated the human spirit. The hidden network was ready. The revolution was about to begin. Part 1, The Forgotten Fields of Solitude. The harsh reality. The scorching sun beat down mercilessly on the vast agricultural fields of the southern territories. Rows of genetically modified wheat stretched endlessly, a testament to the region's industrial agricultural model. Nara Rothwell, her skin bronzed and weathered beyond her 23 years, moved methodically between the rows, her hands carefully monitoring the crop sensors. Each movement was calculated, each step predetermined by the strict productivity algorithms that governed their work. The agricultural workers, more like human machinery than individuals, were monitored constantly by overhead drones and ground surveillance units. Their lives were reduced to efficiency metrics and resource output. A system of control. Governor Marco Streen watched the fields from his climate-controlled observation tower, a digital dashboard flickering with real-time productivity statistics. To him, these workers were nothing more than interchangeable components in a vast agricultural machine. Efficiency was his religion, human dignity a forgotten concept. Nara's sector had been underperforming by 0.3% in the latest quarterly report. Such a minor deviation would typically result in severe penalties, reduced food rations, extended work hours, or worse. The system was designed to crush any hint of individual variation or resistance. An unexpected encounter. During her routine sensor calibration, Nara noticed an anomaly. A small patch of wheat showed signs of natural genetic mutation, something completely forbidden in this hyper-controlled environment. As she leaned closer to examine it, a hand suddenly pulled her back. "Don't," whispered Victor Leonard, a maintenance worker who had silently approached her. His eyes darted nervously around, checking for surveillance. "Some things are better left unobserved." Victor's weathered face told a story of quiet rebellion. Unlike most workers who had surrendered to the system, he carried a spark of defiance. His brief warning was more than just a caution about the wheat, it was a glimpse into a world of resistance that existed beneath the surface of total control. Seeds of rebellion. That night, in her compact living unit, Nara couldn't shake Victor's words. The mutated wheat represented more than a botanical curiosity, it symbolized potential. In a world where every action was predetermined, this small genetic variation was an act of rebellion. She knew the risks of even thinking such thoughts. The punishment for questioning the system was severe. But something had awakened in her, a dormant seed of resistance that had been waiting for the right moment to sprout. Little did Nara know that her small moment of curiosity would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge the very foundations of their controlled society. The forgotten fields were about to become the battleground for something much larger than agricultural productivity.